Well, I'm back on my sofa again today, guys. And I'm actually knitting my favourite stitch. You're going to see a lot more of this stitch as time goes on. I'm still knitting with acrylic at the moment, but my favourite stitch is going to get migrated to some lovely lamb's wool in some very natural colours. Just put it down for a minute. As you know, I've got myself this little book of yarn samples that were knitted and then stuck into the brochure, basically. Let me just fold it up a bit. Now, the colour that I am wanting, and if I come here, I hope the focus will do, is this one here. Let Let me just check what the name of it is. That's it, Asparagus. And the other colour I want to go with it is this one at the top here, Ballerina. And they're going to make up a little yoke for a top-down sweater in this favourite stitch of mine. Now I'm just finishing the knit row on this sample. I know that I lost a few subscribers last episode, and it was only a handful. It wasn't many. And I guess they probably didn't like the fact that I was using acrylic. I don't know, or maybe they just didn't decide to stay on and see what I do. Never mind. I was quite surprised at the beginning of 28 days ago on my analytics. I probably had about 55 subscribers. Today I've got 219. Now, in the past month, I've had about 4,000 views across my channel. That's just like out of my mind. I've hardly had 40 per video. So whoever's been telling everybody about my videos, thank you very much. It's really gives a boost to the confidence. So a handful of subscribers not staying with me, well, it hurts a little, but you know, can't expect everybody to like what I do. Now, quite often, and I'm going to show you a little video clip. Quite often I use acrylic as a project template, you know what I mean? What do they call them? A prototype, yeah, and that word always evades me. So if I knit it up in acrylic and I like it, then I can translate that into a more expensive yarn. It's better to do a prototype on a cheaper yarn. Well, guess what? I've had a delivery just this minute through my window. Let me just take it out of the packet, and I saw by the the writing on the front that it's my yarns from Ithaca. Hang on, let's turn it around. Ithaca. There you go. They've come all the way from Italy. I wanted to try these out because I had so many lovely new viewers. I thought, let's give you something special, and here they are. It's called, let me get them out. Look at them nice packed in there like that. Oh, they're so beautiful. This is called Sorcha Origin, and it's made up of virgin wool and 70% and alpaca 30%. It's one you can knit up. It's a sport weight yarn that you can, let me just see if it gives you any other details. Yeah, so it's got 112 meters on a 50-gram ball, or 122 yards. and it says it's 1.75 ounces, which is 50 grams. You can knit this up on a 3.5 to a 4mm, and over a 4-inch swatch that would be 25 stitches to 28 rows, I think. Now I've actually, I hope it's here. Oh yes, I've actually done a top-down sweater graph using that gauge already. So that's my pattern. Can I bring that back? No, that's my pattern. And so if I'm going to use the correct size needle, I'm going to go for a 3.75 because 3.5 is a US needle. We here in the UK have a 3.75 needle, which equates to number 9s. But aren't they beautiful? Now, on the website it said 6 of these should make, or 6 times 50, 300 grams, should be enough to do a top-down sweater, i.e. So I'm really excited about that. I've been waiting for that. I can't remember when I sent for it, but because of Easter, etc., it's taken a little while. And I've had a delivery from UPS this morning. They're pretty good up here. I've had problems with DPD, who don't seem to know where I am, but UPS obviously do. So that was lovely. So that is going to be part of a top-down jumper using some of my Gansey stitches. Yes, now before the Easter break, I won a knitting bag from the Almanac Knitter for my Gansey swatches. Now that hasn't arrived yet, but I know there's a backlog because the young fella that came to me just now said a lot of things had arrived on Friday, but they're delivering now. So I expect that they'll probably be coming soon. I've also ordered my first artwork from darkroom.com. I wanted to try them out. I've put a couple of pictures up on there. And so I thought, right, I'll order one, see how long it takes. Well, of course, wrong time of year to be doing that, isn't it? Because everybody's on holiday for a few days. So I'm waiting for that to come now. So that might arrive this week. And that's going to go in my bedroom. But I will probably have to show you that next time because I don't think it's going to come just now. Anyway, back to my knitting. So I'm coming to the end of, well, I've done the end of that knit row and I'm now doing the purl row. And I haven't told you what stitch I'm doing yet, am I? This is my favourite stitch and I've used it in hats as well. I did a hat by Gudrun Johnston who used a similar stitch. But this I'd like to use in a patterned yoke. Now in Shetland they do use a lot of lace stitches because obviously the beautiful shawls, but they also use them in the yoke patterns of their jumper styles, along with Fair Isle, which I do like as well. But the most used and most enjoyed stitch for shawls and such like is the old Shale, which we know as feather and fan. And the reason being is that it has a beautiful edging. Now I've done a contrast colour edging for this. It's not coming up as very wavy yet because we've only just started. And the other thing about knitting this is, although I'm doing a purl row, a knit row, purl row, which is like a bit of stocking stitch between the lace decreases and increases, you can just do a garter stitch all the way through, which gives a lovely effect. I did that on my hat. That was very nice. So yes, feather and fan, or old Shale, which is the Shetland name for it, is one of my favourite lace patterns. Back in the 80s, I went to Paris for the weekend on a coach trip. Nothing romantic. And I went up the Eiffel Tower and visited the Palace of Versailles. And we stayed in a motel outside of Paris near Versailles. And I cannot think of the name of it because when I moved to Manchester, there was one there. It was a French named, obviously, French named motel company. And I took with me some nice clothes, and one outfit was for the evening, for dinner. So what I took with me was a very pale green, a paler version of this, pale mint green, shirt with a split down the shirt sleeve into the cuff, then a cuff, a split down there. So you could see your arm, it just flapped open a bit. And it was a shirt style blouse, long blouse. I had a pair of very high-heeled mint and white stiletto heels with a bow on the back. I had a pair of white lace hold-up stockings, which never held up. Trying to walk across the car park, I was holding on as I was walking across the car park, you know, that type of idea. And but I had knitted a white skirt, a white lace skirt, all in feather and fan, and the trim on the hem was mint green. So at the moment I am recreating. Oh, I've gone too many. See, now when I'm talking, I do too many of the wrong too many stitches. So I'm trying to recreate my French idyll weekend. Let me just carry on and do the right bit now. And so therefore, once I've recreated it in acrylic, I will then decide how I'm going to do that in a lamb's wool, for instance. So 2, 4, 6, that's correct. It's not good talking on a row when you've got a pattern row. You probably also notice that I'm full of cold again. Well, on the back end of a cold. Almost lost my voice again. Almost. Evaded complete loss of voice, but I'm all stuffed up. My head's bunged up, I think that's what it is. I'd gone out for a little drive across to the West Mainland. And I came back, and a couple of days later I was off again. So I think it's fresh air. I don't like fresh air. Because that's the second time I've been in fresh air, and this is how I come back. And you'll notice that I'm knitting on 2 needles. I did try this on a circular needle. I'm going to have to practice if I want to do this on a, what am I calling this? On a circular yoke, aren't I? I'm going to have to practice this. It's doable, but it's the join that's going to need fabricating, figuring out. This skirt I'm doing in 2 pieces this time. Oh, did you enjoy the video at the beginning of my panelled skirt? Oh, it came out beautifully. Really did. I'm so pleased with it. And the tulip top was made in this beautiful feather and fan. And all the rows of colour sort of blending into each other. The top part around here was made up of moss stitch, as was the sleeve to the same junction or juncture as the top of the feather and fan, and up here with moss stitch, so it all matched in. And the little sleeve had some feather and fan and some ribbing. Yes, I love that jumper. In fact, actually I cast it off using an I-cord cast off, and it almost looked like a tulip the way it finished off. I wished I could have done it in a reverse style on the other side so that it matched up. So the back on that one has it, the front on this one has it. So yeah, that's something I'm going to have to play with. But again, it's part of the design process, isn't it? But it's not going to stop me wearing it because it's lovely. And the skirt just reminds me of daffodil bells. How it flares out, like the daffodil bell flares out. Yes, so I think that's a very successful suit. And although it's done in acrylic now, I'm going to decide on knitting it up in Shetland style wools the superwash lamb's wool is very soft, that sort of thing. Or now I've found my way to Italy, we could use this because it's lovely and soft. From a point of view of being eco-friendly, yeah, it's an eco-friendly yarn, but it's travelled across Europe to get here. And it's spun in Italy, but the yarn, I think, is from Uruguay. Let me just check that a minute. I think I'm right in saying that. It doesn't say that on here, but I have a feeling that's what it said on the website. So it's better that we get our local yarns. But I'm going to have to speak to them about how we get double knit on cones. This skirt is in double knit and I'm doing it on a 4.5-inch needle. If I did 4.5-inch needle, 4.5mm needle, number 7, if I did that with a 4-ply, it would be beautiful and lacy and very light, but you'd really need to line the skirt. And again, if you're going to put lacy panels in the top, then you've got to consider whether you want that to be revealing or to have camisole underneath it. But I do know that they do double knit. Or they did do double knit. So that's something I've got to investigate. And then I would like to use some muted colours to knit the suit. When I say muted, I mean more natural. Here, look, I'm coming to the end of it now. This is the end of the pattern row. So the pattern row, giving away secrets now. I start the row with 3 knit 2 togethers. Then the next 6 stitches I go yarn forward, knit 6. Sorry, start again, girl. Yarn forward, knit 1, and I do that 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then I knit 2 together 6 times. 2, 4, 6. Then I go yarn forward, knit 1 6 times. Then knit 2 together 6 times, etc, etc, all the way across until I come to the end. And I finish with 6 stitches, so I knit those together. Knit 2 together 3 times. And that basically starts the curve going up that way. And when you start the row, it finishes the curve going that way. And therefore, looking at it the right way around, then you get this lovely curve along the edge. I love the contrast on the edging. It really sets it off. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. And as you know, I've finished the I've finished the Daffodil and Tulips outfit, and I've made a little berry with a stalk in red and orange, wools knitted together in garter stitch, and I made this berry, and it's the Guernsey tam on my Ravelry page, and I can't remember who was the person who designed it, but I used that as my basis and put that on myself. Let's see what it looks like. So you can put it to one side like so. There you go. Yeah, I can't see for toffee, so I hope it looks all right. Yeah, let's just do a little. There you go. Okay, so that's that. Oh, and I'm wearing the crocus jumper today that I made, the Pope Vergara top-down sweater, basic top-down sweater, basic yoke sweater. I really find this comfortable. It's lovely. It's a beautifully soft, made in this Stylecraft batik, and that's got 20% wool in, so that leaves it nice and soft. And if you find that wool is irritating, at least it's not too bad if you've only got 20% wool in it. Or if you really can't stand it, the acrylic's obviously for you. So, you know, judge me or not, some people have to wear acrylic because they can't cope with the irritation of wool. So I've got to cover all bases, haven't I? I've got to cover my whole audience. It's a budget-friendly yarn as well. And not only that, I support my local yarn store. We have two main yarn shops in town, The Tree and number 25. Number 25 is where I go for spinning classes, or the shop that belongs to the company where I go to do my spinning classes, and they provide a lot of spinning fleece for spinning, and local fleeces as well, and local already spun yarn. The Tree does have a few. I did notice that the last time I went in. They had some yarns from the Isle of Orkney, but they provide the things that, you know, the acrylic yarns, the baby yarns, and they have some wool, wool aran in there, and lots of embroidery kits, and I got my cutting board from there. So I like to support my local stockists on Orkney. I mean, at the end of the day, if we don't, we lose our shops. For instance, we've just lost M&Co, but I mean, so has the rest of Scotland, but we've just lost our M&Co, so where do we go for clothes now? That's something we've got to start considering. We do have a small section in Tesco. I believe somebody was telling me that's going though, so that's difficult unless we all buy online, which sometimes we have to do, let's be honest, because we can't get everything here. We can't just go down the road like you guys can. We have to get a ferry, and then we've got to travel down to Inverness, which is another 2 or 3 hours by car. So got to think of all those things. So support your local yarn stockist. It's only fair, or else we'll just lose them. And I just enjoy ordering things that I can't always get hold of too. It just makes it makes knitting more pleasurable, doesn't it, when you can try out some new yarns and things like that. So thank you to Ithaca Alsacia Origin. I shall be starting that soon. I just want to finish some of these things for my trip to Elgin. Ooh, before I go, I had so much of that yarn left. I tried something else. I did another top-down sweater, and I thought this would be good if you're afraid of Fair Isle but want to do some colour work. So in due course, that'll be translated into some lovely lamb's wool. And as you can see, I did manage to just put a tiny wee bit of Fair Isle in, like that little pointed bit there. And what I did slightly different was made a ribbing from just under the bust to the waist. It's very cropped, and I did that on 2 needles because what I want to do is sew down the side a bit and have a little flap. So this will have short sleeves as well, because I've only got that much yellow left. But I've got a tiny wee drop of red, and I've got some orange, and I've got more of that pink. Well, magenta they call it. So that, once this green has run out, this will go into that skirt pattern. But yeah, I like that. Don't you think that's quite good? If you're frightened of Fair Isle and you want to do some colour work, you don't have to worry. Splash as much of it about as you can. And what the increase row here is garter stitch. That's not an increase row, but to divide it I use my garter stitch. That's an increase row, that's an increase row, and that's an increase row. So then we've got the 4 increases from the neckline to where you divide for the armhole and so forth. If you want to hear me yatter on about that, go to episode 22, where most of my visitors have been, actually, to hear me talk about my basic yoke calculations. So again, just thank you so much for all your support. I've been absolutely overwhelmed of, as to how many people are coming along to like me and to subscribe to me and say, I've just found you and I love what you're doing. And all that just makes life feel good. It's hard sometimes when you've not been too good to see past your own negativity sometimes and think, is what I'm doing what people want? And then you only see about 40 visitors and you think, I've done something wrong this week. But I think I just have not hit the right time to publish, and now I'm sort of trying different times to publish, and YouTube is recommending me now, which is wow. So that's where you get to see me. Yeah, I've probably rambled on as usual and forgot all the things I was going to say, but thank you very much. That's all I want to say is thank you. If you would like to support my yarn habit and help me to show more of these, and obviously these are cost more than the average, that, don't they? That costs £2.50. I think this one costs about £6.50 roughly, So if you want to help me to fund my knitting habit, I've set up a Ko-fi.com account. So it's kofi.com/sorchaandlilac, and the link will be in the description, where you can donate a coffee for me. Buy me a coffee, please. And that'll help me to produce more videos like this and more designs. So if you want to support me, want to help me to broaden my audience. I like putting that down. Broaden my audience. Just buy me a coffee. Would you please buy me a coffee? I think that's all I have to say today. I think I better be quiet anyway, because you know what I'm like, I lose my voice at the top of a hat. Anyway, lovely to see you again. All the best. Keep knitting.